What is up, crew? Welcome to Seek the Edge podcast with me, Kelsey Lensman, where our goal is to challenge you outside of your comfort zone so you can tap into the God-given potential inside. And also, too, with that is become the best version of you. And I know that's a very cliche saying, become the best version of you. It's on all the Instagram quotes and it can sound really good, but I truly mean do the small things that lead to a better you, whether that be physically in your physical body, whether that be spiritually, whether that be relationally, whether it be emotionally. So a lot of times we think about doing really big things, 180ing how we're living, signing up for this big crazy thing, which I'm still an advocate for. I did it. It challenges you in different ways. But also becoming that best version of you is doubling down on some small consistencies, some small things that compound over time that create a better version of you, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. And that's what I'm going to talk through today is I want you to hear on the other side of this. This is a conversation between me and you. No guest is here. It's just you and I, is to truly level up in a different area. And when I say level up, get better, improve, whatever verbiage that you want to use. It's about doing the small things consistently well that are often forgotten, that are easily to forego, but that compound to create the 3.0, the 4.0 you that you are becoming right now. And if you're out there receiving this and you're like, Kels, that sounds great for them, but not me, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about every single one of us has something that we can double down on that doesn't feel big, that does not feel groundbreaking, or that it's going to shift much. But I promise you, as you double down on this small little thing that nobody sees, that is behind closed doors, that will compound and create that better version of you. And that's what we're talking through today. And this topic hits home with me deeply because I'm going to share a little update on where I'm at, why I'm really thinking about this topic in my life and the shifts that I've made, and also how this correlates to what we get to do after our time together today. I always say you can hear amazing things on a podcast, but until it's implemented, it doesn't really matter. And my goal is to not just make it sound good while this is on your radio or your earphones at the gym. It's to actually implement change. And our community here is our goal is to do the small things consistently well. And when we do the small things consistently well, you better watch out. And in this same time frame, over the past couple weeks, this has been an exciting, so fun, so wild time frame, and also decently draining over the past 3 to 4 weeks because it was a lot of travel. It was a lot of family time, which was great, but also a lot of travel. And I'm here in Columbus for a couple days, and then I'm going, and then I'm here back for a couple days. So it's really hard to kind of get into a routine. My body clock was all off. But to recap the past few weeks, so we had our big XYL event end of May here in Columbus, Ohio. Then 2 weeks later I flew to Boston for my brother's graduation, his doctorate graduation at MIT. And shout out to him. He's becoming a Harvard professor at their business school next year. I'm going to ask him all the business questions, so he better get ready. And then that following week I went back to my hometown in Ohio, and I married my brother with her two brothers. We were the ordained ministers for their wedding at his Ohio wedding, which was smaller, more intimate. And then the next weekend, we flew to Mexico City for his Mexico wedding because she's from Mexico City. So there were 300 plus people there. The whole weekend was fun and crazy and a lot of laughs and a lot of food and a lot, just good times. And as I came back, though, I was very grateful for the time that I spent with them. I remember I posted this on Instagram of I had a moment to pause to think like I was truly in the good times, like the good old times. We use that phrase a lot of, well, back in the good old times, but many times we don't realize that those are the good old times. So I paused at that wedding. My family was around, her family was around, everybody was having a good time. And I just really took it in of like, Kelsey, these are the good times. And I was really grateful for that. And so side note, the one thing that I want you to do this summer, because this is coming out in the summer or whenever you're listening to this, is realize that you are in the good old times. And if this is tough time right now for you, if this is a challenging time, this is the time where opportunity is going to come knocking. And this is the time that you're going to look back and say, man, that changed me, hopefully for the better. And we're choosing for the better. Hopefully not for the better. But I remember when I reflected back sometimes in my life that I thought were challenging and just tough. I'm like, man, that molded me. That created me into who I am today. And so I took a moment to pause for that. But all that to share, it was great. We had a lot of fun, but I was ready to get back into a rhythm. I think more than anything, my body was, because it felt really off. I wasn't sleeping that well. Just felt really sluggish energy-wise. And so I was ready to get back into the rhythm of things. And within that time frame, over the past 2-ish, 3-ish weeks, if you're listening to this as this is recorded, is there were 2 things that happened that weren't this massive wake-up call, but it was just enough for me to really take some of these small consistencies and more important in my life than I have prior. And one of those things is I got my labs back for my hormones, and I advocate every single one, male, female, no matter what age, probably 18 and above, but no matter what age, is I advocate getting your labs at least one time a year so you can see internally what's going on underneath the hood. Is externally you can feel good or look good, but that doesn't always correlate with internal health. And I realized this through my bodybuilding journeys as I was like the epitome of health externally. People probably saw me and they just saw the 6-pack in health. But if you actually drew my labs, they weren't as great on the back end. And so it's just incredibly important to understand like what's going on within your body and take matters into your own hands, meaning not waiting for something to happen to change how you're living, but also being proactive instead of reactive in that type of living. So I was proactive, got my labs over the past probably 4 to 5 months. I came off a really big race, my 100-miler come December. We also rebranded late last year. Then I hopped into a High Rocks prep early this year. We're gearing up all of our events. So there's a lot going on, and it felt like I was just kind of running, like not necessarily survival mode, but I was just trying to get the things done that I needed to. And I didn't have time to pause to kind of get up for air. And so finally got to a point where I'm like, all right, Kels, like you have to pause, see how you're doing, and allow yourself to course correct as needed, because just my body just did not feel as good. My workouts didn't feel as good. So I ended up getting my labs back, and it was a decent eye-opener for me because they weren't all just rainbows and sunshine. And I kind of knew that that was going to be the case because of how much I've been running and sprinting personally, professionally over the past 6 to 8 months. But it was just enough where my inflammation was up, my detox and my liver function was a little bit down, which has to do when you are in more of a stressful state. And it was just enough in some of the labs that I got back that I'm like, all right, Kelsey, like, you have to take this serious. And you have to make some shifts in how you're doing your day-to-day so this doesn't compound to be something worse. And it wasn't anything urgently bad. Like, it wasn't anything like, oh my God, I need to change everything tomorrow. But it was just enough where I'm like, okay, like you need to double down on you again. And you need to focus on those small things that you've probably let slip or that you haven't prioritized. And it's no longer acceptable for that. And then second thing that just planted a seed in my brain and my heart was the episode with Zach and Christina Tenor, which was released last week from this episode dropping. And they inspired me how much they doubled down on their small consistencies. Christina talked about how she looks at her vision board every morning. Zach talked about how he asks himself the 3 questions every morning and he doesn't let himself slide on that thing. And I really respected how consistent they were on the things that nobody really sees externally, but that is leading to their momentum, that is leading to their growth individually and collectively as a couple. And it just really inspired me to reflect back where I'm at right now to say, okay, yes, you're sprinting in all these different lanes, but are you taking a moment to pause? And how do your small consistencies look like? And if I truly reflected back on the last 6 to 8 months, it's really grateful for what happened. It was, the 100 was amazing. The High Rocks was great. All of our events I've been really pleased with them. But I have let the more survival mode take over and just trying to get everything done that I haven't given myself the space to pause to say, okay, Kels, well, what is your vision? Are you actually living in alignment with where you want to go personally and where you want to go professionally? And overall, it's a yes. But if I look at the small details, I haven't really asked myself, well, what is my vision for myself and business? Or what's God's vision for that I'm stewarding? And I haven't created those small consistencies. I let them go. I let them slip over time that have and will compound to not only my external being better, but my internal being better. And it gave me that importance again of prioritizing myself. Yes, not letting everything else go, but prioritizing myself, which is easier to say than do sometimes because I'm a giver and I want to move things forward. But giving myself that time, space, and energy to allow myself to do better for me, which in turn will do better for everything around me, the business, the people around me, my relationships. And if you come from an athlete mentality like I do, it kind of has been ingrained, and it's a very great quality, but it also can be a double-edged sword of just pushing. Like we push, right? We can push through the tough moment in the race. We can push through the obstacle in business. We can push through whatever challenge is thrown our way. And like I said, that is a very great quality to have because we can figure things out. We don't expect it just to be 24/7 easy. We're very resilient through that. We're persistent through that. So that is a great quality to have. However, when you also come from a let's push through it mentality, pushing doesn't always serve where you're headed. And sometimes when we need to take a pause to say, okay, do I need to course correct some of the small things that I'm either doing or not doing? And when you just push through it, you never truly take that moment to pause to readjust, especially if you don't have this built into your day-to-day. And that was very much like me. It was like, I'm just going to push through this stuff. And as Zach and Christina reflected back on me, it was almost like a mirror of, ooh, yeah, I'm really not doing some of those things. And it's not necessarily about adding all these to-do lists, but it's giving yourself permission to take time for you again, to realign or readjust that 1 degree shift and allow that to be consistent. That will compound over time to create that better version of you, create that new opportunity, create that professional success that isn't necessarily from pushing, but it's from realigning and pulling towards you. And for me, it wasn't about making these crazy 180 shifts. It's not about honestly doing too much 180 degrees, but it's about dialing in those small things that are easy to let go. So for example, this could be taking your vitamins. This could be reading your 10 pages consistently every day or doing some type of personal development there. This could be asking yourself about your vision and about your goals and re-engaging, what am I actually going after? Does this still align with what I want? Or this also can be time spent with God. Am I building that time in to do my Bible study or to take that time with God every day? This could be consistent water intake, recovery sessions. I'm good at training. I am terrible at recovering. So am I dialing those in? My morning routine, my night routine. And once again, this can feel like so many things thrown at you. However, it's not about doing the 20 things once. It's about doing the one thing 300 plus days a year. And can I compound that small thing that over time, it's going to lead to so much different success and better success there. And the one question I asked myself that was a great gut check for me is really what you're doing contributing to where you want to go, or are you just doing it because you've always done it? I'm going to ask this again. Is really what you're doing contributing to where you want to go, or are you just doing it because you've always done it? And you can take that question in many facets of your life. For me, I train every day at 5:30. It's a consistency. But once again, that's not a bad thing. Training is amazing, right? That consistency is great. But am I doing it? And is it contributing to where I want to go? And for me, that's a yes, right? But also I need to prioritize sleep more and probably going to bed a little bit earlier. Or am I just doing it because I've always done it? Once again, for me, that's a yes. But this could also be you putting TV on before you go to bed. Is that really contributing to where your vision is and where you want to go? Or are you just doing it because you're habitually in that process because you've always done it like that? So we can ask ourselves those questions. It takes true courage to look at your life to say, okay, am I course correcting in the right direction? Or hey, what are some things that I'm not doing that I need to be doing? And so these are the 3 steps that personally I have taken, even over the past couple weeks, that have made that 1 degree shift that has incredibly helped me towards where I want to go. And there's a book called Atomic Habits. Great book, by the way. And it talks about how if a plane shifts, I think it was 1 degree or 3 to 4 degrees. I can't remember off the top of my head, so don't quote me on this. But if it shifted 1 degree or 3 to 4 degrees, it landed from, let's say, East Coast, West Coast, it landed in a completely different city. And that plane didn't shift 60 degrees. That plane didn't shift 45 degrees. All it did was shift that small little 1 degree or small little 3 to 4 degrees, and it landed in a completely different place. And the same thing happens with you. You don't necessarily need to 180 everything. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we need to put the line in the sand to say, I'm no longer doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm making a big shift in my life. But a lot of times it's about making that small 1 degree shift and continuing with that 1 degree shift that will align you with a completely different version of you if done consistently well. Nick Bear says all the time, which I love this quote, do things consistently good over occasionally great. Do things consistently good over occasionally great. I loved that quote because it talks about consistency with it, and consistently good over occasionally great will get you farther every single time. And so these are the 3 steps. Number 1 is re-engage your vision. For those that are of faith, ask God what his vision is there. For those that want to create that too is, well, what do you truly want? And once again, if you are of faith, God put desires in your heart for a reason. And so it's not necessarily being self-reliant, but it's uncovering what he's placed within you to go after what you want. What do I truly want personally? Like, what do I want my life to look like? And for many people that have lived a certain way over and over again, this one is hard because they haven't broken the bubble of reality. They think, well, this is just all that I can do, or this is all my reality can be. And so they never actually realize they have other desires in their heart, because it's not just being content, it's being unaware of what's possible there. And so re-engage that vision. What do I truly want personally? What do I truly want professionally? What are my dreams for my life? Like, what could that look like? What do I want to create? What's my mornings look like? What do I want my nights look like? How do I want to spend time with family? Like, what is that vision? We need vision first. Secondly, what are the consistencies, or what are the habits that support that vision? Okay. For me, which I'll share a little bit later, but that looked like bookending my morning and night with asking myself some questions that will get me to kind of redirect each day versus one time a week or one time a month or one time a year. Re-engage that vision. What are the consistencies that support that vision? And number 3, how do I implement one thing, one consistency per week and keep accountability for that? So not how do I go from living one way to living 180 a different way, But how do I do that one thing consistently well over occasionally great that will lead to that 1 degree shift and lead to that different version of me on the other side? Your brain is going to want to say that is not enough. Your brain is going to want to say, well, no, you have to do 5 of these things, not 1. You need 5 of them on your new list. And once again, it's going to start and then it's going to stop because we did it occasionally great over consistently good. Re-engage that vision. What are the consistencies or habit that might support that vision? And how do I implement 1 per week and keep accountability with that? And once again, it's not necessarily about adding things to your to-do list, but it's shifting things or taking things off or dialing in the things that we've let go to ask myself and support, does this actually support where I want to go? And for many of you, you might think, wow, this is just so much more my list. You don't realize because you're not dialed in on these small consistencies, there's more stress, there's more overwhelm, there's more things that I have to do just because I don't have the momentum and the system and the structure in place to support those things. For example, when I don't have my habit of focusing on being proactive about the week, well, what meetings do I have? And what are my meals planned? And when am I training? When that's not already dialed in before the week happens, it can feel so stressful of, well, what am I going to eat? When am I going to train? How am I going to get this stuff done? When really, I just didn't plan ahead accordingly to help me throughout the week. It can feel like I'm adding 1 thing on my to-do list when really it's helping me tenfold throughout the week with that list, right? So sometimes the stress, the overwhelm, the, oh my gosh, I have so much to do, isn't that you have so much to do. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just a lack of structure to handle that capacity. And when we dial that in, you realize you can do more than you think, and it doesn't even feel as stressful. So a few things that I have been implementing is being really particular about being really dialed in, more dialed in, not perfect, but better with my morning and my night. Before, I would just get up, I'd go work out, I would just kind of get into the day and get going. And I just would feel like I have so much to do, and it did not start my day well. And then at the night, I would just go to bed, right? I'd set my power list and then I would just go to bed. And I was letting go a lot of those small consistencies that help me course correct throughout each day and help me build that structure in my days and that rhythm in my days that will help me throughout the week. And so what I'm really doing now is my morning routine starts at night. And so I set up my glass of water out, my big glass of water that I drink every morning, okay? My vitamins, my pre-workout, and my post-workout protein. All of that is on my counter the night before, so I wake up, I don't have to worry about it, okay? I'm being proactive for Kelsey tomorrow morning. Then in the morning, I drink my glass of water, I read my little devotional, and I ask myself 4 questions, and this has been really challenging for me, guys, because I have always said I'm not a journaler, quote unquote, but I'm trying to implement this practice. Just because I've never been it doesn't mean I can't do it. And even over the past couple weeks, this has been incredibly helpful. Is I ask myself 4 questions. How am I doing? Really, how am I doing? Secondly, how is my business doing? Get everything on a piece of paper. Okay. Number 3, my 1% better is ... What is my 1% better day? 1 action item business and 1 action item personally. What is my better today? And then third, 3 things that I'm grateful for. How am I doing? How's my business doing? You can put something else in there if you don't own a business. What is my 1% better personally and professionally? And my 3 things I'm grateful for. That I come home from the gym, and then I go train. Then I come home from the gym, take Cap on a quick walk, and then I get ready, get my prayer, and get ready for the day. Okay, that stuff, my drink water, read devotional, ask myself 4 questions, that takes a maximum of 5 minutes. Did I have 5 minutes in my morning? Yes. Was I just completely foregoing and not dialing that in, which led to a lot more stress? 100%. Okay, my nighttime routine, power list. I always do this regardless. Is I set my power list up for tomorrow. What are my 5 most essential things that I need to get done tomorrow? For me, that's professionally, but you can also do this personally, okay? Once again, I set my water out. I set my vitamins, my pre and post workout out. I read 10 pages before bed. Takes me 8 to 10 minutes. And I ask myself 4 questions. 3 things that went well today. 3 wins today. How do I feel? Once again, because I'm really trying to understand that more versus just kind of bulldozing my way through life. And what's my vision? I've even taken a little bit of Christina's tip from the last podcast, and I've made a Pinterest board of like images that align with some desires that I have. And then last but not least, I end with a prayer. And so some of those are, once again, it can feel like, oh, she added so much more onto it. They take me literally 5 minutes, but it's about doing those small things consistently well on my weekdays and weekend days. It doesn't matter what it is, but am I doing those consistently well? And then I've also been adding I just did it the first time this week, is I wanted to add some yoga. I did 1 session of yoga before church this morning just to do something different, not necessarily do a strength workout, but something different movement-wise that added a little bit more recovery. So once again, that was some small thing that I wanted to do just for me, for no other reason than just for me to enjoy it and be good for me. That will help in the long run. So, all right. My computer's about to die, so I'm going to wrap this thing up. I challenge you to not just focus on the one big thing to do, not just the one big thing on your calendar, but how can we focus on doing the small things consistently well? If we can do that, that will be the ultimate game changer towards where you're headed. And I promise you that's where the magic lies. I'm going to draw it back up to that question. Is really what you're doing contributing to where you want to go? Or are you just doing it because you've always done it? Ask yourself that. Message me the one thing. And let's keep on getting consistently good over occasionally great.